Well, hello, everyone. This is Rosalind Henderson of Entrepreneurs Double Your Income. And I'm very excited today because I've been trying to get this young lady on for a little while now, and I've been able to do it. So I'm introducing you now to Margaret Rose, and she's a spiritual joy coach for women. She uses spirituality, mindset, and meditation practices to help women overcome trauma, discover their true selves, and to align to their soul's purpose. She's a mom of a very rambunctious 2-year-old child, son, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And she lives in Austin, Texas. Uh, she has had great experience with overcoming trauma, integrating body and mind, co-conscious parenting, and tapping into intuition as a guide. So here I am
Yeah.
introducing to you. Everybody, give your virtual applause as we
Hello.
introduce
Hello.
Margaret. Margaret Rose. You want me to call you Margaret Rose?
Or Maggie is fine. Yeah. Margaret
Maggie
Rose
is
is my
fine.
official name.
Yeah. So I'm excited because our trails, our paths cross. I mean, I
Hmm.
do understand as an entrepreneur that the part of being an entrepreneur that is usually not spoken about as much is the need for personal growth, the need to overcome trauma, the need to just keep aligning ourselves to
Hmm.
our soul's purpose until we get it right. That's the part of entrepreneurism that you don't hear a whole lot of discussion about. It's more about
Yeah.
skills, and so that's why I was so excited to talk to you. So I wanted to hear a little bit about your backstory. Um,
Yeah.
what's your journey, and how did it lead you to where you are now, spiritual joy coach?
Sure. Well, I grew up in a family with a lot of generational trauma. There was a lot of alcoholism on my dad's side, anxiety and depression on my mom's side. There wasn't a whole lot of support. We moved around a lot growing up. And I just knew at a very young age, I was a teenager, and I knew I was like, I got to get my shit together if I want to make something of myself in this life, or, you know, not be bogged down by all the trauma and all the family, stuff that really I saw my parents get bogged down with. And I knew that I needed to do that before I had my own kids. And if I wanted to be the person that I wanted to be. And so I've spent the last 20 years really digging deep and doing the work. And I love to learn, and I'm a learner. So I've studied Zen and Buddhism and meditation and yoga. I was a massage therapist and an energy worker for 6 years. And then I also went to school for child development. And so I learned in college a lot about the human brain and how we work and how we learn and how we grow as children. Which kind of gave me like the sciencey human development side of things. And that together with my love of the woo and of spirituality and of tarot and, all the self-help stuff really brought me to this place. When COVID hit, I lost my job. I was a business operations manager for a seven-figure salon, and I had a team of 20, and I was a mentor, really. Like, I was running the business, but I was also a mentor for these women. And when I lost my job due to COVID, I, started out, like, as you said, on this journey of entrepreneurship, of aligning and, trying to figure out things along the way. And I started as a business consultant and realized that my heart wasn't really in there, because that only really encompassed like the last 5 years of my life. And I wanted to do something that encompassed everything, all of me. So the last year has really been a journey of uncovering what that is. And what has come through and the way that I help my clients is really overcoming those stories, the same stories that I had to overcome, the same generational trauma, the same trauma that comes with abusive and narcissistic relationships as a woman. And I just, with all the stuff that has happened in the last year, I was like, I'm okay. Like, I'm good. I've done my work. I've done the hard stuff.
Yeah.
The whole world is falling apart. And I'm like, I'm good.
And that's the beauty. Look, Maggie, that's the beauty of doing that hard
Yeah.
work. And, I'm really impressed that you were able to find the courage. It takes a lot of courage and bravery at that age that you are, number one. And I'm sure that you were a trailblazer in your family, that when you started out seeking these healing methods, people, I'm sure
Mhm.
mom, dad, everyone around you, they were looking at you like, what is wrong
Yeah.
with
I was
Maggie?
the black
What's
sheep
not
of
in
the
the
family.
Maggie? And so that is no joke. By the way, I just want to let the audience know, if you have any questions along the way, audience, please feel free to put them in the comments. I'm sure Maggie doesn't mind answering anything that you might come up with, or even statements that you want me to read. So what are some of the typical, when we say traumas, that is such a buzzword
Hmm.
these days. Everybody's
Yeah.
traumatized. So I want you to give us your, and we are, but your
Yeah.
definition of trauma. I understand it as an educator, but I want to hear from your perspective.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned trauma as a buzzword, because that is something that, like, I hesitated to use that word in my marketing
Mhm.
and in my business because of that reason. So like when I speak of trauma, I speak of like abusive relationships. It could be some one-off traumatic situation and generational trauma. But I also go beyond that because, you know, trauma is not all encompassing. We can have situations that were not good and weren't helpful, but they're not necessarily traumatic. But that doesn't mean that
Mhm.
we don't need healing from them, right? Like, it's
Mhm.
just that
Mhm.
conditioning that we receive in a, quite frankly, patriarchal white supremacist society.
Mhm.
And and trauma is different for everybody. And so I really try to be conscious of the fact that, like, it's so much more than this buzzword. It really is, your experience of the world around you and your experience of yourself. And if you're not happy,
Yeah.
and if you're not happy with yourself, then that's what needs healing. And you can label it whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. But healing comes in when there's a part of us that feels disconnected, that feels like we're not who or where we want to be. And so a lot of people are labeling that trauma, but really it's just part of being human. It's just part of the human condition. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just
so,
want to insert that, in my journey, I've been surprised to the extent that some of it was my interpretation of events. It may not
mhm.
have been this is my interpretation of events that led to the trauma. And as I cleared up my inability to see, that sometimes I went, oh, this was what was going on. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
that and trauma. It's a lot of different
Mhm.
things, but at the same time, in the final analysis, it impacted me. Even my
Yeah.
interpretation might have been a little askew, but that impacted me for years.
Yeah.
So the definitions are, like you said, in the final analysis, it's about what's keeping you from being, full Maggie, full out, Rosalind,
Right.
full out, because that's
Yeah.
how I play that game of
Yeah.
life.
And I think it's interesting that you say that it changed your perspective, because I have the same, experience where I can look back on my childhood now and think of all of the good things, because I've healed a lot in my relationship with my parents, and I see them for the human beings that they were and the struggles that they had. And sometimes I even struggle to think, like, was it really that bad? And like, I know it was at the time because that's how I was perceiving it. But because I've done so much healing, my perception of it has changed. And, it's all about resiliency. When we can reach a place where we are able to bounce back more quickly because we're more grounded and we're more centered and we
Yes.
know who we are, we can have traumatic situations happen to us and not be traumatized by them.
Oh,
So,
love that.
like,
That is, I
we,
got to put a pin in that for
yeah.
1 second, because that's a good one. Because I know that you're a
Yeah.
parent now,
Mhm.
and I realize that sometimes, and this is me growing up in the '60s. Okay, so let me just say that in the '60s, kids were in my household and around me. You're supposed to be silent. You don't have an opinion. Keep it, look cute. Put your bobby socks on and your patent leather shoes. Have
Yeah.
and just be cool. And that's some of the issue is that kids can't reality test. They couldn't reality check. Am I seeing this correctly, Mom? You couldn't cry. You couldn't cry when you were 8 years old about something that, and I'll give you something to cry about. You want to cry. You hear things like that. And I want to know, how has your healing, how has it affected or is affecting how you parent now? You have a 2-year-old now.
Yeah, I agree that, like, when you say that our children's perspectives, they don't get to see the full picture. And so it's us as adults to understand that. And so, I feel very blessed that I have a background in child development and that I've had experience teaching children from 18 months to 12 years old. And so I can look at my son and not get caught up in the stories that we tell ourselves. Like, he's not listening to me, I'm a bad parent because he's acting out, and all of these stories that we tell ourselves. And I'm able to look at when he's having a really hard day, I can say, well, he's just having a hard day. He's 2 years old. They hit, they scream, they throw tantrums. That's developmentally appropriate. And I don't have to take that personally. I don't have to make it about me and who I am as a parent. And I think the only reason why we do that is because that's what our parents did, because we weren't taught, to be honored as a child in the space that we're in and what we're developmentally capable of achieving in that moment, or what's appropriate for us. And we were always held to adult standards that we can never reach. Right? Like, children don't know how to manage their emotions. That's literally what they need their parents for. And so when you're told stop crying or go to timeout or stop throwing a fit, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Like, no.
Yeah.
And so I think that plays into, with my son, is just that I understand that it's not about me. I don't have to take it personally when he's acting out. It doesn't mean I'm a bad mom if he's hitting. It's just, this is what is developmentally appropriate, and what I do meets him there, right? So I'm either deflecting, or I'm holding his hand, saying, I can't let you hit the dog. I have to keep people safe, or I'm going to let the dog outside since you're having a hard time, and it's not like I'm putting the dog outside because you can't behave. It's, I'm going to help you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I'm gonna help you. You seem to be really struggling, so let's take the temptation away. Like, his favorite thing lately is taking the covers off the bed right after I make the bed, and we'll play around the first couple of times. I'll be like, no, respect mom is no, and then he won't listen. And I'm like, okay, well, then we're just gonna leave the bedroom, and we're done. And it's not about me.
I love that.
And that's just that's what we are taught when we were children. We were taught that we were responsible for our parents' emotions, that we were, expected to meet these, adult level abilities that we just weren't able to do. And so just taking a lot of that pressure off of him and off of myself, just frees us up to have more fun.
And this is why, Maggie, again, I want to applaud you, and people want to applaud you. It's because here's the truth. The truth is that you've gone on this journey. You're probably still continuing to go on this journey, because once you get bitten by the personal development bug, right? I mean, you just can't stop. You get addicted to it. But what I am, on the other hand, is a little bit saddened by sometimes is when a person refuses to make that move, to find bravery for the sake of their kid, for the sake of themselves, for the sake of having a better life, and they choose to try to remain the same. There is this truth that either you're growing or you're not. And as a former educator, I have seen where you have these, like you said, these generational traumas and patterns of behavior being handed down like a baton, and it really becomes a prison that with each generation, as far as I'm concerned, the more this is entrenched and the pattern is not broken, the more difficult it is to break it. When it's a century years old, it's 75 years, it's 50 years old. And you see that a lot in society. So again, I want to applaud you, and I'm so happy you're doing what you're doing. So what are some of the ways in which, we know at root that the trauma is kind of seeping into people's behaviors, that we see the symptoms of trauma. But what are some ways in which our trauma interferes with our expression of our soul's purpose?
I'm actually doing a series right now called 14 Reasons Why Your Biz is Stuck and No, It's Not Your Strategy. For this very reason, because this conditioning seeps in and it teaches us things like, everything has to be done perfect. Therefore, if the person that I hired or the person that's helping me isn't doing it perfect, then I either have to nag them or do it all myself, right? Because we're placing our value in the ability to accomplish this task instead of just letting it be imperfect. Or things like we feel like we have to be busy and sacrifice ourselves in order to be successful, because that's what we've been taught. That if we're not hustling and grinding and staying up until 4 a.m., then we're not going to do it. And we have to sacrifice our mental health for our business or for success. And so it's just all encompassing. And a lot of the times what I find when working with clients and what I found in myself is that these things that I thought were personality traits of mine was actually conditioning. I was taught to be this way. Yeah. And it being able to kind of set those things down and being like, well, aside from what I was taught to be and who I was told that I was, who am I really? And uncovering that is what makes me happy. It's not the making a certain amount of money or having a certain, number of friendships or relationships in my life. It's, am I really showing up as me and not as the stories that I've been told, as a woman, as a white woman in, a capitalist society, like all of those things. And
Martin, you just opened up a can of worms, Maggie. I love it.
Gosh. I mean, it starts getting real deep, man. I had a client call today and I had to be like, I think we've had enough for today. There's like I don't want to, overwhelm you with all these like aha moments. I was like, let's save some for next session.
Yeah, you can only take so much. You got to spoon it out. Absolutely. And, in my work, because I help entrepreneurs double their income through sales development. However, mindset is a major part of my program. And I keep seeing these recurring themes of whether it is money mindset issues that you have from the past, ideas about money and how money should be operating in your life. Sometimes a lot of this is all subconscious. We're just kind of self-sabotaging ourselves in a very subconscious sort of way. Or the imposter syndrome. That's a big one among women. Who am I to be doing this, what I'm doing? Who should be paying me this amount of money to do what I'm doing? And then that's a constant. And then there's a lot of myths that people have about selling and what it really means, because we've had these experiences, right, with coercive salespeople, And so mindset and really breaking that down and reestablishing mindset so that it's based in reality is definitely, I think, should be included in any kind of program, for entrepreneurs, because that is half the battle. Is the thinking, giving yourself new permission to do new things and to upgrade your life. So
I'm sure you know how important mindset is. If you think something is going to be true, then
for sure. There's an expectation. And, I can give you stories of, again, my interpretations of, I thought at times we were growing up poor, as a family. And I'm judging mom and dad, and I only had one dressy dress, otherwise I had a uniform. And I remember judging my parents for that. You know what? It actually showed up in my young adulthood with my fear of, can I really provide for my two boys? I'm a single mom. I'm really worried about money here. And I was making a decent amount of money as a teacher, but it didn't make sense. And it wasn't until I started journaling and started digging did I realize I had some money beliefs, and I judged my mom and dad, and I needed to forgive them for what I thought they did. And just goes to what we were talking about earlier. What I began to realize is that I didn't have the full picture as a 10-year-old child. My mom and dad, for a time, they were shucking money, putting money aside because they were trying to save for
Mm-hmm.
a rental property. And they got rental property. And we've all been blessed subsequently in inheritance because they have unfortunately passed
Yeah.
because of their decisions back then that I only could see this much of this much. All
Yep.
I know is that I only have one outfit.
Yeah.
That's the outfit. And
you couldn't see the
so,
bigger picture. I mean, kids, that's how they're designed to be. They're designed to be egocentric because they
yes,
rely on the people in their lives to keep them alive. They cannot survive without the adults in their life. And so everything is about them because that is how they are designed to survive. And so as an adult, like, you know, what we're taught as children is that we're selfish and that, you know, we don't understand and all of these things instead of being honored for where we are and that, yeah, you are a little egocentric right now and that's okay. You'll understand. And one,
yes,
you know, and continue to teach, you know, and speak to children as if one day they will understand, even if they don't understand right now. Because I think we miss out on so much as a child because we're just like, oh, you're just selfish. You just don't know. And it's like, well, that's just literally how our brains are wired.
right, exactly,
Right? We're just
exactly.
wired to be egocentric
Luckily, I
little,
got out of
you
that
know.
in my early 20s, but
Yeah. I mean, we all,
yeah,
you know, most of us do. Some people, you know, continue to keep that mindset for sure because
sure.
they haven't been taught otherwise. And, you know, that just goes back to like the whole like what is trauma thing is that it's really anything that's affecting you, right? And it could be as simple as that you were called selfish for being egocentric when that is a part of your biology for survival.
Absolutely. So
So,
I'm your client, Maggie.
mhm.
All right. I'm dealing with self-sabotage, anger, unresolved issues. So what are some of your processes
Sure.
that you use in helping someone like me?
Um, I call myself a spiritual coach because I deal a lot with like the ethereal. Yes, you know, I deal with human development, but it's also more about to me, the subconscious. The subconscious is the powerhouse of our lives. It runs everything. That's the part of us that is connected to our divinity. It's the part of us that, you know, holds all of our memories, holds all of our emotions, everything like that. And what I help my clients with is getting out of living through their minds of these thought patterns of anxiety, depression, you know, all of these thoughts about who they are, and really getting in touch with that deeper part of themselves. So we do meditation, tarot cards, visualizations. I do, you know, just subconscious reprogramming and really get in touch with that part of us because the more that we try to continue to live by our mind, which is what most of the people in our society do, right? That's why mindset is so important. In my work, it's more about getting in touch with beyond the mind. And that way the mindset kind of shifts with us,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's a symptom of us not being connected with the deeper part of ourself. Because our intuition is in our body, our subconscious is in our body, all of our stored thoughts and memories and feelings, it's all still with us. So it's just a matter of, yes, I help my clients get there and, you know, we work on the things that need healing, but it's also a process where they can repeat it on their own. So this
Love
is
that.
how you get in touch with your subconscious.
Yes.
This is how you listen to it. This is how you implement what it's trying to teach you. And then we create a process that works for them so that they can continue the process
Oh, I
well
love
beyond
that.
our work together.
I'm a great believer in putting tools in the hands of people so that they can regulate themselves, so that they can help themselves. Those are things that we weren't taught when we were little, but you know, but just like we exercise, well, lots of us, we exercise every day and we're trying to watch our diet. I mean, it's the same thing about developing mind spirit. I mean, it's something that you have to do daily and have tools to use. And so I love that. I love hearing that because I do attempt to do the same. So now, if somebody wants to get in contact with you, Maggie, I'm
Mhm.
sure somebody in my audience is saying, we need to talk to Maggie because, oh, she's
Yeah.
talking some really important things here. How do we get in contact with you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Facebook is the best way to get in touch with me. I'm happy to, um, post a comment in, the video when we're done, because everything on my profile is public, and you can follow me, and you can see my series and visit my website from my profile, and you can always DM me. So Facebook is the easiest way to get in touch.
You do have a Facebook group. What is the name of your Facebook group?
I do. It's Joyful Warrior Women, and it's a wonderful group. But to be honest, I haven't spent that much time in there. I'm just kind of trying out new things, and everybody that's in my group, I'm also friends with on my profile. So
I see.
So all of my content is, I realized for me, myself, in my own work, I realized I was hiding behind the firewall of the safety of the group. And while I love the group and all of that good stuff, my spirit called me to be more public and loud and proud with my work. So
I love it.
Out there
I love your
in the open.
offerings. I love your offerings. I love your mission. You are someone who's very, very important in society as far as I'm concerned. And I just want to thank you for just, spending some time with us. I'd like to have you back in the future because I feel like we just touched the surface.
Yeah.
Of so many more deep things that we can talk about. Do you have any last words that you want to say to the audience?
Yeah, I just want to say for anybody watching that really the foundation of my work, and I say this because some people feel called to work with me and some people don't, but I want you to have this information no matter what happens. But that self-love is the foundation to everything that we desire. And I know it sounds, like, oh, okay, whatever, but I still have to have skills and pay bills and all of that. But I guarantee you 100%, if you love yourself deeply and unconditionally, everything will come from that. So that's where the work is.
Powerful, powerful message. Again, thank you. And audience, I suggest you get in contact with Maggie. Run, don't walk. Until next time, everyone. Peace and blessings, everybody. Bye-bye for now.